We'll just walk through some basic questions, kind of how you found us, how you found the reports, some post-sales type of stuff.
So how I found you, I can give you kind of the background on that. I had been doing a lot of research in terms of, not research on your research, but research on research companies that would have information that I had been looking for in an aggregate manner. Not we subscribe to NielsenIQ, which gives us sales data in the US that is pertinent to our category. What that doesn't give us is the actual forecast, what the strategies or the tactics, where other companies are moving or going. And so I was looking for research that had more demographic, geographic, strategic forecasting, a look at the top players, the bottom players, the innovators, and the new coming in. I stumbled across yours and 3 others. I did vet 3 other companies in addition to Verified. But what I liked about Verified was it was a broad enough picture that it was giving, access or information on both the demographic and the forecast, of what the potential of the market was, and also looked at the full category, not just the single sliver of the category. So I was able to then take our Nielsen report, our data from Nielsen, and look at what was being forecast and see how that married up with what was happening at the register. So to me, it was just the right study at the right time, given the complexities of what I was looking for. I was looking for information on how, are we reaching the right customer the right way and telling the right story.
That's really helpful. That's interesting, Robin. So the stuff that you got from Verified Market Research really was a supplement to the Nielsen information. Correct. That you get by. I mean, Nielsen for people is kind of the industry standard as it relates to the retail space, what's sold where, how much, category wise. So correct. That's an interesting use case. You guys use it to supplement that data, and it sounds like give you a little bit broader picture.
Yeah, I did. I mean, that was my goal in getting it. I don't know that, the senior staff saw it in the same vein, that I had already dissected 10 Ways to Sunday, the Nielsen data, whether it was drug, mass, whatever the channel was, food, I was understanding the channel opportunities and who the heavy hitters and the players were in those channels. I knew where we were ranking in those channels, as well as some of our more direct competitors like Angry Orange or Rocco and Roxy. So I was looking at the two, the legacy and the newer players in the category and how they were converging and where. And so it told me a great deal because I'd already been deep into the Nielsen data. I don't know that that's how our other, associates might see it, but that's why what I was looking for was the broader picture, the bigger, opportunity, and where people were really either on point or missing the boat.
That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that, Robin. That's really helpful. So, and how did you, when we at Verified Market Research deliver the report to you guys, was it as you expected? Was it kind of as we defined in our SOW, or talk a little bit about that process once we deliver the report?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I go into things when I'm researching or looking for research, I'm literally in my head, I already know what I'm looking for. It's like, okay, I want to know your legacy brands like the Febrezes, all of the air conditioning players, but I also want to know who the disruptors are, what's coming up into the marketplace. So in the SOW, one of the things that I took for granted and should not have taken for granted was that, at least the top 10 or 20 were going to be profiled. Like, these are the heavy hitters. They're your legacy brands. They've been around 100. The Church and Dwight's, all of those players. So in my head, I was like, well, every piece of research would have to cover those because they are the foundation of that category. I was wrong. I didn't even realize it until my CEO mentioned it. So I went, oh crap. So I came back and like literally I didn't even see it when I went through everything. And, I went through some of the specifications. I had already made it a point to ask for data on POOPH, data on Rocco and Roxy, data on Angry Orange, because they are the disruptors in that established air conditioning environment. So I was sitting there, how did I miss Nature's Miracle? And it was literally the assumption. So that was my error and oversight. But, again, those are the things that you don't realize until somebody goes, did you notice?
Yeah, that's interesting because we do try to stand close to the clients on the SOW. It's kind of what our secret sauce is a little bit is hopefully delivering something that when it hits your inbox is completely usable. And with the Verified Market Research Report post delivery, how did you find kind of the service? Were we able to meet your needs as it relates to once you got the report?
Yeah. I thought your services were absolutely outstanding, very accommodating, very eager to ensure filling any of the gaps that we may have found while really going deep, because it's not just a 10-page easy read. There's a lot of information in there, and trying to digest the overall. And like I said, when somebody says, oh, you missed, and I'm like, no way, it's there. I know it's there. I know there was a little blue dot, like you're sitting there going, I know it's there. And so, when I did even come back and I said, look, can you guys throw this in? Because I missed it, making an assumption. And it was like, let us talk it over. Let us, So I was extremely grateful and pleased. So, I think there are, like anything, you would have certain little wish lists, as it were. But then, the granularity may or may not be beneficial in the longer haul. So trying to get that first nut, that kind of this big picture, here's where we are and here's where we play in that, and how that marries up to what the data is telling us with Nielsen. That was helpful.
But thank you for that. And really the last thing we kind of wanted to extract from this is, we love to ask our clients this, on a scale of 1 to 10, kind of how did you view the service and what could we do to make this better for our clients?
I think the service is probably a 10. I don't know how you could truthfully improve on that, because it was very consistent. It wasn't overbearing. It wasn't annoying. It wasn't calling me at all hours of the day and saying, did you make a decision? So it was extremely good service, very timely, not overbearing. And there was always the open end of, how can I help you? How can I make this easier? And that is the opportunity I think we all look for, because you don't have all the answers. Even when you're looking at the details of a report, you're going, oh God, now I have more questions.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. And thank you for that. I mean, our goal here really, and the team's goal, is to have long-term clients, right? I mean, our goal, which again, try to separate ourselves from the market a little bit, is to have long-term clients. And have somebody who's happy with the product, and there'll be future needs at some point, and we'd love to meet those needs. So thanks so much for taking the time today. Don't want to take too much of your time, but I'm really appreciative of the feedback here, and so is the team. And sounds like we hit the mark, so we look forward at the prospects of doing this again with you.
Yeah, absolutely.